The one thing that I've always wanted to get into is coaching in some way, shape, or form because I love helping people and trying to give people as much information as I've been fortunate enough to be able to gain throughout my life. Tell people. So I knew that was always going to be on the horizon somewhere. And in my own mind, I thought that if I was going to get into coaching, it would be with one of two people. If the opportunity ever arose, and that was with either Ricky Ponting, because he was an incredible captain, an incredible leader. I was so fortunate to play a big period of my career with Australia under him. So, and I know how good a coach he is as well. So it was either under Ricky Ponting or Stephen Fleming, working with Stephen Fleming at CSK. Those two guys are probably the leading coaches that I believe in the world, the way they sort of go about things. So if an opportunity, I always thought in the back of my mind, if an opportunity came up with one of those two guys, then I've got to take it because those opportunities don't come along that often to be able to learn the ropes from the best.
So here we are, finally, we have you on our podcast and we're quite excited. There's so much to talk to you. I don't know when I'll stop, maybe when you tell me to stop. So it's been great interacting with you since you have come here, and all of us have been really looking forward to chatting with you. So welcome to the Delhi Capitals podcast. All of you are fans. You have Shane Watson, the legend, sitting right in front of us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Very kind.
Awesome. So let's get into business. I want to start talking to you about DC first. How did it happen?
Yeah, so it all happened, really, the conversation started a little while ago with Ricky. The last time I caught up with him after the last IPL, just catching up, he sort of mentioned that there might be an opportunity to work with him at DC, which for me at that time, I was sort of still working through exactly what I wanted to do around whether it was just put all my energy and time into my businesses that I'd set up, or test out a little bit of commentary, or whether I wanted to get into coaching. The one thing that I've always wanted to get into is coaching in some way, shape, or form because I love helping people and trying to give people as much information as I've been fortunate enough to be able to gain throughout my life. Tell people. So I knew that was always going to be on the horizon somewhere. And in my own mind, I thought that if I was going to get into coaching, it would be with one of two people. If the opportunity ever arose, and that was with either Ricky Ponting, because he was an incredible captain, an incredible leader. I was so fortunate to play a big period of my career with Australia under him. So, and I know how good a coach he is as well. So it was either under Ricky Ponting or Stephen Fleming, working with Stephen Fleming at CSK. Those two guys are probably the leading coaches that I believe in the world, the way they sort of go about things. So if an opportunity, I always thought in the back of my mind, if an opportunity came up with one of those two guys, then I've got to take it because those opportunities don't come along that often to be able to learn the ropes from the best. So then it all came to, there's a little bit of space for about 3 or 4 months, and then the opportunity came together, which I was just stoked that it worked out because it's been an incredible opportunity to be able to get back in a team environment again, to be able to work with Ricky again, which is just the ultimate, and to be able to work with the Delhi Capitals. I've obviously played against Delhi Capitals for a few years, and always really enjoyed the way they went about their cricket, and their performance in the last sort of 3 or 4 years has been outstanding as well. So it was a great opportunity to try and make the most of, and I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. Cut to the present day. Did things pan out just like you thought they would?
At Delhi here?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I didn't know exactly, personally, I didn't know exactly what to expect because this is my first full-time sort of coaching role inside a team, even though I felt like in well, even the last sort of 4 or 5 years that I played, I felt like I was sort of helping out and coaching in some way the people who are coming through if they needed some assistance. But this just being a full-time sort of singly focused on the coaching side of things, it's been so much more fulfilling than I thought it was going to be. And in and around the Delhi capital side of things, it's just been fascinating to be able to see how, with preparation and seeing how people perform, the dynamics within a group, and how much that does or doesn't have an impact on the group. And the exciting thing about Delhi is we still haven't, right now where we sit today, we still haven't really everyone nailed together their best performances, and which is an exciting thing, because once we get 4 or 5 guys playing at their best and we're really close to that, then we're going to be unstoppable. And we are really, really close to that. That's the exciting thing. We still haven't been at our best, and we've been really close. We've been very close to falling on the right side of the results, like the Gujarat Titans have. They've just somehow fallen across the line in front. And we haven't played our best, and we've just been on the wrong side of those. So if we just consistently are able to just execute for a little bit longer, bat and ball and in the field, we're going to be able to get on a roll, because the skill that we have within our group is hard to match.
And how difficult it is for someone to transform the skills from the nets to the actual game, because the pressure is completely different.
Yeah, that's the thing that fascinates me the most, to be honest, and that's where, for me, that's why I'm so I find it super interesting, the mental side of things. I'm obsessed with it, because it's just, we look at people who are in the nets and they've got incredible skill when there's freedom, and they don't care. Like batters, they don't care if they get out. Bowlers, they don't care if they, if they mis-execute the balls. So there's more chance of them executing, and they go into games, and then all of a sudden, because of the game situation, pressure's on, they need to, perform well for their position in the team, then their mental environment can change significantly, and then their ability to be able to execute under pressure is significantly reduced. And that's the thing that's has really fascinated me about the mental skills side of the game of cricket, and that's why I've spent so much time developing my knowledge around that. One, personally, when I was playing, and I was fortunate enough, like life does at times, certain people come into your life at just the perfect time. There's a guy called Jacques Dallaire, who's based in the US, who's this mental skills sort of guru, who's worked with he's sort of a big guy in motorsport in the US, and also he's worked with like special forces people and fighter pilots and that. So, and I was going through a really tough time in late 2014, to a point where as my performances were going, I got dropped from Test cricket, got dropped from one-day cricket, and this one guy I got introduced to, I had nothing to lose, so I was going to retire. So I went over to see this guy and went through just some really simple information over a couple of days to understand how your mind works, how you get in your own way, how you do sabotage your own performance, like in a game compared to training, and then how to get out of your own way. And from that time on, I'd 4 years of being able to put that into practice, where I had some of my best performances throughout my career. But now to be able to see it as a coach as well, it's just, I find it so fascinating, because everything's always built around technique. Normally coaches, the first thing they say and what they see is your technique. Oh, you mishit that ball, you didn't execute that ball when you're bowling because of this technique, whether, whatever reason they think it is, because that's what you can see. But never really is a question around, well, where's your mindset? Because if your mindset's not right, it doesn't matter what your skill's like, you're not going to be able to access your skill and execute your skill. So that's why, one of my main parts as a coach now is to be able to use that mental skills knowledge that I've been so fortunate about to gain, is to just pass that on to as many cricketers as I can, because that's where training, when we're free, we don't really care about the results, and why people are so good at training all the time, and they go into a game and they just freeze, or they can't execute their skill or make good decisions under pressure, and it's all just around their mental environment. And that's why that's one of the parts that I see as my advantages from the coaching side of things, is to be able to help people just know what their right what their right mental environment is to be able to just access all the skills that they've worked so hard to develop.
Right. And this is one topic I wanted to come to and spend some time on, because it's been quite fascinating for all of us as well to see what you're doing. And this is a first kind of experience where someone is talking about the mental aspect of the game. I mean, people have spoken about the mental aspect for last 2 years because of the pandemic, the bubbles, bubble fatigue. People wanted to freshen things up. So there have been more team bonding activities, trying to keep people fresh. But what you have brought in is a completely different aspect of the game. And for a lot of people, it would be great if we could touch upon how you realized that, okay, I need to look at my sport from a different perspective. How did it begin for you?
Yeah, it's interesting because like even throughout my career of playing cricket professionally since I was like 19 or 20, there was never really like a person around or a coach or a psychologist around that really helped me develop my mental skills to a point where I was looking to continue to really improve that every time I trained and played. There was no one around. It was more, there's a little bit like you pick little pieces here and there that would help, but there wasn't really a mental skill that I was really skills that I was trying to develop because I didn't know that information. It was always around technical skills. So I did that up until I was 34. And I would fall into the right mindset at certain times. I still had quite a few really good days throughout my career up until that point, but it's more so all around the circumstances around me that sort of made me fall into the right mindset. And that's why learning this information from Jacques Dallaire, that I then set up a business with him around trying to teach this information, because this information that he taught me was something I'd never heard before, around how so incredibly simple it was to understand how to get out of your own way, how to create the right mental environment for you that you're in control of. We don't I never realised to the point how much control you actually do have over your thoughts, to be able to think about the right things at the right time. And once I understood that simple information, it doesn't mean it's easy, because it takes a lot of work. It's a mental skill that you've got to work a lot on to develop and get better at. But that's why I started the business with him, because in Australia I knew this information was not out there so simply for anyone to understand. Because Jacques Dallaire didn't know anything about cricket, knew nothing about cricket, but he just knew how to allow me to just direct my mind in the right way to be able to just get out of my way, because it felt like I had lost my skill. For 9 months, I had not batted anywhere near how I knew I could. And I was like, well, where's my skill gone? It's like vanished. But then immediately, as soon as I understood how to create the right mental environment because of this information, straight away it's there. And that's all the exciting things around this information. I've just been, I've turned into a disciple of Jacques Dallaire now. And that's part of, I suppose, my fortunate connection with him is now it's part of my journey, is to be able to pass that information on to as many people, not just, cricketers, because I love the game and I want to help as many cricketers as I possibly can, but in all walks of life as well, because that's the one thing that there's two things that we don't really get taught about growing up at school, which I think two of the most important life skills that we should be being taught at school is mental skills around how we get the best out of ourselves from a performance point of view, which is going to help people work through the challenging times that always come up in your life, and how to then perform at your best when the chips are down. But then the other thing is financial literacy. That's something that's not really taught as well, which is another really important life skill. But that's certainly not my strength. But the mental skills is something that, when it's so simple to understand, whether you're in any walk of life, this information, you can just understand how to get out of your own way to bring the best version of you. And then whatever happens, happens. And that's because we all, one of the really important things that in this information is all around results, and how important and desperate everyone is for the results, because they mean so much to all of us. Life is based, and your success is based around your results. Everyone wants to be the best at what they do. Everyone wants to be as successful as they can be. Everyone wants all the trimmings and things that come with being successful as well. And that's all I was as a kid, just so obsessed with being the best cricketer I could be. And I just put so much pressure on myself because I always believed that if I worked hard enough, then that should guarantee me results.
Right.
Which just meant I was putting so much pressure on myself because when I stepped back and one really simple performance equation that Jacques sort of taught me, and once I understood it, it was all around. There's the factors that are in your control, which is just what you bring to that performance at that moment in time with your skills, your knowledge, how well rested you are, your commitment, like your real commitment at that moment in time as well, and all the things that you are in control of. But when I look back at all the times where I've had my best results, there are things that are out of my control that have fallen my way as well. And I didn't put into my computer at all, my internal computer, there's these other like other B factors that are there that I didn't realize how important they were for then to get the results I wanted. Or the other side of it is those factors that are out of your control, they also can derail your performance as well. But because I just wanted results so much, I'd worry about results. I'd worry about performances when things weren't going well. And then that just meant that every time I'd go, I'd put more and more pressure on myself because results are so important. But once I understood that all you can do is control what you're in control of, what you actually bring, and just bring the best version of that every time, then the results, they'll be what they are, not knowing what there's other factors that are going to come in. So once I deeply understood that, then a huge amount of pressure is lifted off my shoulders. It doesn't mean that results aren't important, because they are. But as soon as I stop worrying about the results or worrying about failure and just focus wholly and solely on just bringing the best A game that I possibly could and realise that the results will be what they are, then it's a game changer.
Wow. And it's unreal to think that all this started at age 34 for you.
Yeah. I know, and that's part of the reason why I'm, being in and around the coaching side of things now, and I'm writing a book on the mental skills of cricket right now at the moment as well, which will come out later on in the year. Again, all around, I would have loved to have known this information when I was 16, because I was just obsessed with cricket. Yes, I still studied because mum and dad made sure that I studied, so school and cricket, and I just wanted to learn everything I possibly could about the game. Technically, I want to know what everyone did. Physically, in the gym, I wanted to be the best version of myself from a physical point of view as well. But there was not any information out there where I could tap in and start developing the mental skills aspect of life, of performance, but also specifically cricket. And if I did, things would have been different. Like, there would have been less stress and worry and anxiety around performances, and I'd have had a better control when things weren't going well, how to sort of redirect my mind to not just continue to sort of dig a deeper hole. So that's part of what my journey is now, is to be able to pass this information on, and that's why I'm super excited to put this book together for all the cricketers out there, that especially the younger people in particular who want to develop it from a young age, because you develop those great mental skills habits from a young age, then you're going to have, most importantly, you're going to be more consistently be at your best. That doesn't guarantee your results, but be at your best more consistently. But the upside as well is less stress and worry and anxiety around performance as well, which we all get caught up in very easily.
And that's quite fascinating. After the session we did with you, it has also triggered a lot of thought process in my mind. I'm trying to kind of consciously tell myself to get those negative thoughts out. And I'm exploring this a little more now. I genuinely feel it makes you better as a person, because you're consciously thinking that, okay, these are the thoughts in my head, right?
Yep.
It's not helping me in life. And I just want to shift that discussion a bit towards some couple of experiences. I spoke to Roman last evening on our podcast, and there's one thing I observed. He had a difficult run to start with, and like you said, the skills were still there. We saw how well he was timing the ball in the nets. Everything, all the pieces were in place, but still the results didn't go his way for first 3-4 games. And after the game, I saw you sitting beside him and having a long chat with him. He told me a bit about it, but I want to know from you. So how were those
Okay, what did he
conversations?
say? What did he say?
No, he just spoke things that, how you were trying to help him understand that don't put yourself into a shell. Keep your thinking simple. Don't think of results. Don't be too hard on yourself. So those things he spoke about, and that was quite interesting. So basically, the point is, it's helping people, right, to have such conversations, which usually wouldn't happen.
That never happen. And that's the thing throughout my career up until I started to know this information and was comfortable talking about it. I never talked to people about what mental skills they used. Technique. Oh, everyone talks about technique. Like I played with Ricky. I've known him since I was 20. Like I'm so fortunate, both Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath, and who are technically like as good as there's ever been with their execution under pressure, their skills. But I never asked them. It wasn't, and there's also nothing that they wouldn't really, not that they wouldn't talk about it because they're closed off, but they just did it because it worked for them. They might not have necessarily known why they did it. They just did it because it worked. And that's just something that people don't really talk about until I've started to sort of have, like, just do some of these workshops, and then people just start talking about their mental processes they go through and what works, what doesn't work. And I find it fascinating because no one in cricket teams that I've ever been around have ever talked about that. It's always been around technique.
Right.
So, and what you said there about Rovman, that's the thing. Like, he's a incredibly skilled guy. And two things that probably stood out for me talking to Rov was around one, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, around your conscious mind. So the thoughts you have, that internal dialogue it's going on all the time, that internal chatter that's there, that's a conscious mind function, which is we're in control of it. We are in control of that internal dialogue, but most of us don't exercise that control that we have and allow our internal, that little person on your shoulder talking to you, you allow your mind to move in that direction, whatever that person's saying on your shoulder, instead of actually grabbing it and redirecting it to the right thoughts at the right time. Because most of the time, that person on your shoulder is talking about what fear of failure, what might happen, what if you make a mistake, don't do that now, come on, what's going on? You should be better than that. Like, a lot of the time, it's the negative side of things, but most of us don't understand and appreciate that you're actually in control of that internal dialogue, that you can, if you want to, you can redirect it to the right thoughts and the more productive thoughts. And from a performance point of view, it's redirecting it to the right thing at the right time so you can access all your skills. So that was one thing that Rov really understood and was able to redirect it. And the last thing that really stood out for me, and it always stands out for me, is we never really define the best version of us, like deeply define it. And the power in that is really by deeply defining, we always do. We deeply define our technique, the best version of us from a technical point of view, but very, very rarely do we actually define the best version of us from a mental skills perspective and where our mind's at, and us as a person, we're at our best. And working with Rov and deeply defining that, it stands out pretty clearly of what that best version of you that you're chasing every time you go to play. And you could see in the game that he got us home against KKR, he just, from the time he walked on, he was right there. He pulled himself right there. He didn't need the circumstances around him to sort of be in that headspace. He was just there. And even one of the strategic timeouts, the one of whatever, like 13th or 14th over, walked out there. Oh my gosh, he was the man. He was there to own it. It was exactly where he needed to be. And in the end, it doesn't guarantee that you're gonna get the results you're looking for, but you're giving yourself the best chance. And that's exactly what Rov did, and he nailed it. So that's the stuff that just makes me so happy to be able to see people who are able to just direct their thoughts into the right things at the right time, and then they have performance like that, and it's very satisfying.
Wow. And all of us, like everyone listening in here, would be curiously waiting for your book as well. We'll move on the discussion from talking about the mental aspect to just a bit of fun. to feed our curiosity, what sort of discussions happen in the strategic timeout?
Yeah, for me, I'm more so strategic timeouts. I'm not saying a lot, like apart from just a couple of the guys that I know. If they're starting to move away from where they need to be, is just trying to pull them back into the more so than anything the right thoughts at the right time to give themselves the best chance of executing. But outside of that, I try and stay away. Because the Ricky's always there, Rishabh's there, the two leaders, the main leaders, they're the ones. It's their time to really talk. So it's more so me just like little conversations, just to help the individuals more so than the group. The leaders are the ones there to take control and direct the guys in the right way if they need to.
And while you were playing your cricket, how did you receive when someone else walked in and spoke during the strategic timeout?
Well, yeah, a lot of the time it's great that people come out and they start talking, but in the end, you know better than anyone what the right thing is to do right at that moment in time. From a execution point of view, you know what the conditions are, what the right matchups are that you can try and make the most of. But the biggest thing about the strategic times out is it's a great time to be able to bring everyone together. And if there's a general message that you need, especially in the field, and most of the time it's normally around attitude in the field to keep your energy up, that's normally a time where you can try and right the ship in the right direction, hopefully.
Talking about our coaching staff, I mean, such a star-studded lineup we have. If you guys kind of pad up and take the field, I think you'll start hitting some sixes now. And we also have someone like Ajit and you who will start picking up wickets. So how does it feel to have so many talented cricketers around who are now passing on their knowledge to this young generation of cricketers?
Yeah, well, that's an awesome thing that Ricky's coaching, because he's got an incredible amount of knowledge around the game, around the intricacies of the game of cricket as well. And it's it'd be sad if he wasn't like passing that incredible knowledge on to people in a team environment. Yes, he does a great job when he's commentating, but the real sort of nitty gritty of the game that he knows so well. The guys here are very fortunate to be able to have him, because he knows it better than just about anyone in the world that's ever played the game. And his ability to be able to articulate what he sees as well. Like a lot of cricketers, like great cricketers I've been around, can't always articulate like how you do it. Like, I'll just do it. It's like, well, how am I supposed to do it? And Ricky's incredible at knowing how to articulate, well, if you try this or do that, you can get into this position. So very, very lucky to have him. Ajit Agarkar, he's an awesome guy. I played a little bit against Ajit, more so towards the back end of his career. And he's just the knowledge that he has. Obviously, he's one of the. I remember Javagar Srinath bowled good pace, but I remember him coming into an Australian summer. I think it was '99, Brett Lee's debut year, '99.
He brought in a lot of aggression.
Oh yeah, he came and bowled great pace. Like he stirred up the Aussies a lot. He stirred up the Aussies in a big way. I remember him bowling to Steve Waugh and just bouncing him, and Steve Waugh wasn't that pleased. But the knowledge that he's got, and he's just a really nice person. He knows how to connect with people really, really well. Obviously, he's got a great respect within the group as well, just with what he achieved as a cricketer. But he's just a genuinely good person who cares for people. So his ability to be able to just connect and talk about things and help them out is brilliant. James Hopes is someone who I played with him quite a bit. But to be able to see him from a coaching perspective, how unbelievably prepared and he is just his attention to detail across everything, especially in and around the data that's around, which now there's a lot of data around. He knows how to be able to pull out the best pieces of that to have the most impact for people to sit up and go, oh, okay, that's a really important piece of information that we need to make the most of. And his coaching ability as well, to be able to know how to help people get better as well, is something that's been really awesome to be able to see and watch him up close and personal. And then Praveen Omre, just seeing some of the things he does with the young batsmen in particular, like whether it's with the short ball or just a few different techniques that he uses, shows that he's a master at coaching. You can see why he's had so much success working with a lot of the Indian batsmen over the last sort of 10 years or so. He knows the batting technique incredibly well and knows how to help people get better with that. So that's been very special to watch as well.
Wow. Okay, now let's try and shift this discussion a bit on you. Like we've spoken about everyone else apart from you. So your IPL journey, I mean, you have been here since the start of the IPL, and you have had different experiences, different teams, right from lifting that very first trophy to playing for one of the most celebrated teams, Chennai Super Kings. How has your journey been?
Yeah, I feel very lucky, very fortunate for the IPL to have come along at a time in my career. I was 27 when the IPL came along, which was really when I was at starting to get into the into the peak of my powers as well as a fast bowling all rounder or medium fast bowling all rounder, and just the impact it had on my life. It was just at that time when 2008 when the IPL came in, I was in the scrap heap of Australian cricket really because my injuries are just on and off. So I wasn't, getting consistently picked. And then the IPL came in. Shane Warne, who was always a huge supporter of mine and always backed me to the hilt, saw an opportunity to be able to get me to be a part of the Rajasthan Royals as well. And that was that first year was just one of the most special moments in my career, that whole tournament. And it's even more special now that Shane Warne's tragically not here anymore with us. It makes it even more special to have been a part of something such a huge event in his career as well. Someone who achieved so much. So and just to see how things were in the lead up to the IPL, there was a lot of tension around world cricket. Like there was a lot of on-field battles that were getting out of hand, and the IPL just brought world cricket together, and it really did take a lot of the heat out of international cricket, which needed to happen because most people started to play with each other, even if you didn't play with one of your nemesis. Even if, like in the IPL, one of your best mates probably did, and they normally would sort of just build that sort of bridge a little bit to just take the heat out of so many situations. So the thing that the IPL did for world cricket, that alone was something very special. The friendships that it's allowed all the cricketers around the world to be able to have now wouldn't have happened without the IPL as a starting point, let alone the quality of cricket. And to see it evolve the way it has for the first 4 years, which is cricket was an entertainment part, but that was sort of just one part, whereas the Bollywood sort of other side of things was another big part of the IPL. Now it's more so moved to just cricket specifically, and seeing it evolve and just me being a part of really just about every year of the IPL and playing a part through my journey with the Rajasthan Royals, which I absolutely loved. RCB, which was a great experience. That first year in particular was something very special up until the final, which it took me a while to get over that performance. That was one of the worst days I've had from an individual point of view, unfortunately, at the wrong time. And then my experience with CSK, that was something very special, a team environment that saw from afar, was fairly envious of because it just seemed like they just got it right, that team environment and the players that they got. And then being a part of CSK and being up close and personal, working with MS Dhoni, who I just had played against and admired for just the way he went about things. But he never really, to the opposition, didn't give much at all. Never said any word. Like for me in particular, the only words he used to say to me is "good game" after the games. That was it. So I didn't know. I already heard great things about him, but I didn't know what to expect. And then being able to get to play with him and get to know him really well was again a very special time in my career, and that's the beauty of the IPL, to be able to get to know people off the cricket field, not just on, and then also work with Stephen Fleming and see the connection that Stephen Fleming and MS Dhoni have together. That was really special to see their dynamic, their understanding of each other, and how to create the right team environment was something that it was very special to be a part of.
And there were a lot of things which really stood out. I mean, the kind of support you received from the fans as well, the kind of performances you put in. It's always been in your character, right, to give more than you can, like physically. You just went one step ahead every single time.
That's just how I always played. I always wanted to just give it everything I had. And that's the one thing that I felt here in India, that 2008 IPL, from that moment going when I first started that tournament to the back end of that tournament, the love that I got from the Indian cricket lovers was something that it blew me away. Like I remember, I think it was a semi-final that I was playing against. We played against Delhi Daredevils at CCI, and I remember, I don't know whether I can't remember. I think I was batting, and just to hear the crowd, CCI or Wankhede, I can't remember. Anyway, to hear the crowd chanting my name, like the whole crowd, it just blew me away for like an overseas Aussie guy who certainly I hadn't really made my mark in international cricket at that stage. To hear the support that I got, the love and support that I got, and it's been like that from then on. Like I feel more comfortable and content here in India with the support that I've always got from that moment on, really, compared to back in Australia. In Australia, it sort of went through waves depending on my performance. People either thought I was really nice and got a lot of support when I was performing well, but when I wasn't, then they just had, a lot of the times personal attacks and thought I was a shocking person. Whereas here in India, once you build, this is what I felt anyway, once I was able to build that connection and people really enjoyed what I did, that just sustained and has always been there and continues to be there, which I just find absolutely incredible. And that's why I love nothing more than coming over here to India. And I've always felt that, to be honest, yes, in the IPL and here in India, but also other parts of the subcontinent as well, whether that's Sri Lanka and Pakistan and Bangladesh as well. Just the love and support that I've got, and really that all came from the IPL, from the years that I had in the IPL, because that's where they're able to watch, and that connection that I was able to, the people I was able to build with the cricket-loving public here in India was something that, I certainly don't take for granted. I really I appreciate it so much because I know it's not how different it can be.
True. There's one question I have, and before that I would like to say, when I watch CSK playing, I've watched a lot of games where you played as a fan, and whenever I watch CSK playing, even now, there's one thing where my eyes are always on. That's what's MS Dhoni doing. His body language, him setting the fields. A lot of times on the back of the bowler, right? So bowler knows MS Dhoni is there.
Yeah.
So what is it which stands out about him for you?
Yeah, gosh. The thing that I love about MS the most is just how calm he is all the time. I know they call it like he's known as Captain Cool, but it's just no matter what's going on, whether he's off the field, he's just always so chilled, relaxed, happy. He sort of keeps in his own space in a way, because he can't really in a team environment. Like he's always, a lot of the time he's in the team room. He's playing playing his computer games and that sort of thing, or just mixing with the guys. But then on the field, his demeanour doesn't really change much at all. Even when chaos is going around him, he knows how to just stay so present and so calm. And when you've got a leader that does that, then it just means that people around that leader can't freak out. They can't sort of get too intense and to put too much pressure on themselves, because they always feel like they're backed by him. And that's the one thing that I just loved about MS probably the most, is just he backed the players like through thick and thin. And it wasn't just like one or two games. It was through through long periods of time. If he believed in you, then you'd stay there, and he always gave you that confidence. And even if there's chaos going around the field, he just knows how to say the right things, redirect at the right times. His intuition of the game is brilliant, and just his ability to be able to just stay just so. It's like he just gets in this sort of like in this bubble, or just this zone and space where it's just everything's so still in his mind. Wow. Which very few people are able to really achieve that, especially in pressure situations. See the way he bats, and even when the game's getting really tight and he's still like just rotating ones, not really going, and everyone else, like I was always going, and when I was batting, I'm like, I need to go. Whereas he just, we're sweet, we'll take the game deep, and the pressure's more on the bowler than it is on me, and he still stays so calm. And how many times he's got on the right side of a chase because he's just stayed so calm, executed when the bowler's under pressure, and he just consistently does it, which is different to, I suppose, how I'm built, but it's just so awesome to see how calm, no matter what. It's freakish.
Yeah. With you as well, one particular final I remember, 10, 11 balls for nothing.
Yeah.
It built a lot of pressure on all of us as
Yeah.
fans, right?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
And from there, it was just destruction.
Yeah, well, no, I was those thoughts, that little person on my shoulder was thinking that as well. I was like, what are you doing? What's going on? You're ruining it for the team. So those voices were getting quite loud, which had to redirect to the right thing. But yeah, that was one of the days that you dream of, and that was part of me understanding my game inside out and knowing how to just technically, mentally, just keep directing myself to the right thing at the right times, even though I got off to a very slow start, and which meant I put pressure on Faf as well. He took a risk that he really didn't need to because I'd got off to such a slow start. But that's just one of those days that you dream of. And in my own mind as well, I had a bit of redemption deep down inside of me as well from the previous final that I played with RCB, which I was just so shattered about because I know how much it meant to RCB for that final. It was at home at Chinnaswamy. RCB would played so well all year, the back end of that tournament in particular. Virat was on fire. It was his chance as well as one of the greatest players to play to sort of win that elusive IPL title as captain. And it just shattered me that, I bowled one over in particular. I just got it wrong. And I felt like, and then the time when I batted as well, I got out at the wrong time. I just felt like because of the roles that I had within that team and my game just being a shocker, even though I was trying my best, but it just was a shocking game. I felt like it was me who lost the game for RCB. And so deep down inside of me, that 2018, I had to exercise a few demons of me, and that's why I was just so determined to direct all my energy into every single ball, and just try and do that over and over again. And that was just one of the days where it all just a few little things sort of fell my way as well, and you dream of those days, especially at that time my career was 2018, so I was nearly 37. To be able to have a season like that and have a game like that in the final is one that you always dream of, being able to sort of perform like that in a big game.
That definitely deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. Amazing. Last couple of things before we close today's chat. One, I want to talk about Mitch Marsh. Phenomenal cricketer, but kind of similar trajectory. He has also suffered a lot of injuries and setbacks, and equally capable like you to single-handedly win a game. So you have a lot of chats with him. You see a bit of yourself in him.
Oh yeah, his skill is absolutely incredible, and it's great to be able to see him over the last 12 months just really let himself go. You can see the way he's just taking on the game from ball one in all formats, but especially T20 cricket that we've seen him play so well and so consistently over the last 12 months, which is hard to do in T20 cricket. Just shows now that he's sort of created the right sort of mental space that he needs to be in, and because he's got amazing skill, like how he hits the ball so ridiculously hard for just conventional cricket shots. There's not too many people I've ever seen just play like a cover drive or a straight drive and just hit it so unbelievably hard without trying to. So he's only got his best years in front of him. He's getting, he's going to get more of an understanding of what he can do, his physical capabilities with his bowling and managing his body, which for me was always a work in progress up until I stopped playing, because you're trying to do something that's really hard. Being a sort of fast bowling all round is really hard physically, and not many people have done it. So you're pushing, it's a challenge. It's hard to sort of get on top of. But his batting alone is something that's very special. And be able to see what he did in the T20 World Cup, owned a couple of really important times in games and dominated them. He's got a lot of incredible cricket in front of him. And again, he's got the skill. Then it's just continue to be able to create the right mental space that he goes into every game, because once he gets there, goodness me, look out.
and we saw a glimpse of that just a game ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly did see that, and he's going to. I'd be incredibly surprised if he didn't consistently do that and much more, because he's an incredible talent.
So we're going to close this chat by talking about Rishabh. But before that, just want to understand one of your another all-round abilities. I mean, apart from being an all-rounder on the field, you're doing that here as well, right? Being a coach, talking about the mental aspect of the game, and in personal life as well. You have your own ventures. So talk us about that. How did the entrepreneurship came in?
Yes, I've always been fascinated about business, and the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I've just become much more and more obsessed about how people just go from an idea to then creating something that has a huge impact on the world if you pick the right sort of idea and have the right infrastructure behind you. So that's where the mental skills business side of things, beyond performance, has started about 5 years ago. Only a year after I met Jacques Dallaire, because I just knew that information that he'd put together and developed the framework over like 40 odd years was just so powerful. So that's something that's been there, sort of going, just chipping along even while I was playing, and now is the time where I can really get that out to the world, now that I'm getting into the coaching space as well. But my other business that I'm so passionate about is T20 Stars, which is my cricket equipment business, because I'm talking more so in the Western countries. Like here in India, cricket gear is like reasonably affordable. Even top of the range gear and that's reasonably affordable. But like growing up in Australia, for example, my parents were in the Air Force. Mum and Dad I never felt like I went without, but we certainly didn't have an abundance of money growing up. But I was always able to just get enough gear to sort of just fuel my love of the game of cricket. But now cricket gear in Australia has become incredibly expensive, and especially in the Western countries in particular, it's got very expensive. And I just want as many people playing cricket as they possibly can. I love the game so much. It's given me such an incredible life. It teaches you so many different life skills that you need to develop. The game about resilience and bouncing back from setbacks, because it always is. And so I started T20 Stars to be able to just get great quality cricket equipment because of my relationships within the cricket industry. And it's totally an online business because I want to be able to make it more affordable as it possibly can be, to just continue to get in the hands of as many people starting out or wanting to stay in cricket as well, because that can be a barrier for people playing club cricket. It starts to get very expensive to play. So that's a reason why I started T20 Stars and continue to push that very hard to try and get more traction. Again, it's all around, like it is with the mental skills. I want as many people to be as good as they possibly can be from a cricket perspective as a starting point, but then I want as many people being able to play the game of cricket as well. I don't want people sort of maybe questioning whether they play it because the gear is just getting ridiculously expensive. So I'm doing everything I can to be able to trim back all the unnecessary expenses and costs that the other big brands have, to be able to make it as the incredible quality gear as reasonably priced as possible.
Amazing. Best wishes to you for that, and we hope you make difference in a lot many lives.
Thanks, mate.
Closing this chat, talking a bit about Rishabh. Rishabh idolizes Gilly. He idolizes MS Dhoni. But there's one unique thing about him, that while he is idolizing them, he doesn't want to do what they are doing, right? Yeah. He has his unique personality. He'll do things his way. Yeah. So how have you assessed him so far? Yeah, it's a great assessment there. He certainly, I know how much he loves MSD, and obviously Gilly. Every wicketkeeper batsman are just going to adore Adam Gilchrist with what he was able to do to that position in a cricket team. And that's the beauty of Rishabh. He obviously. He wants to be his own man. He wants to make his mark on the game in his own way. Yes, he loves what those guys have done before him, but he wants to really make his mark in his own way and in his own style. And it's just still got to sort of like make sure I keep thinking about this guy's only 24, because he's been around it seems like he's been around forever. Like he's been around for a long, long time, and his maturity as a cricketer. His maturity as a person as well off the field, and you sort of just got to keep like reminding yourself this guy's only 24, and
yes, we've certainly seen a number of like incredible innings, and he's continued to come of age for India, even in Test cricket as well. That Test series he played in Australia recently was incredible to see him just put everything together, all the skills that he has, and he's just one of those. He's one of those cricketers that's just got outrageous skill development at such a young age. He did the first time I ever saw him playing for Delhi. There's not many people who've got that skill at such a young age. Well, there's hardly any. And obviously he spent so much time developing his skill, and now to be able to see him continue to push the limit on how good he can be, he's desperate. He wants it. He wants to be the best that he possibly can be, and he will figure out and just put all those pieces together because he's desperate to be the best him. In whatever way that is, to sort of be a trailblazer in what he wants to do. So it's been awesome to be able to work with him. Like I've only played against him, but to be able to actually see how he goes about things, how mature he is for a young guy. 24 is not that old, but he's got a great handle on life and the world around him, and his teammates as well. So it's been special. It is special to be able to work with him.
And off the field as well, he's quite a character, right? The kids love him, everyone.
Yeah.
He's great fun to be with.
Yeah, he certainly is, and that's what you tell even during that Test series in Australia. He just doesn't take things too seriously. He has a good time, and that smile that he's got, that joy that he has, is very infectious, which is a beautiful thing to see.
So I think that brings us to the end of today's podcast, and there's never enough when it comes to you talking or Ricky talking. We keep listening to you guys all the time, and we enjoy it a lot. So thank you for joining us. For everyone who joined us on Spotify and all other places, thank you for listening. Hope you had some fun and learned few things. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. No worries at all.